Hi, and thanks for watching another instructional video for CSCI 1300. In this video, we will cover the use of the if statement. The if statement is used to implement a decision. When a condition is fulfilled, one set of statements is executed. Otherwise, another set of statements is executed. In the example here, we will be talking about how to design an if statement set of logic for controlling an elevator. In most countries, the number 13 is considered unlucky. So rather than offending superstitious clients, building owners sometimes skip the 13th floor. Floor 12 is immediately followed by floor 14. Of course, floor 13 is not actually gone or left empty. It is actually just labeled as floor 14 instead. So that means that the computer that controls the building elevators needs to compensate for this foible and adjust all floor numbers above 13 as a result. In the example we're given here, you can see that we use what's called an if-else logic. And the if statement has brackets to it, where something will be evaluated if what is in parentheses is evaluated to be true or false. So if floor greater than 13 is true, then the interior of our if statement will be evaluated. If floor greater than 13 is false, then we will go into an else bracket as a result. So you can see here that the if statement is checking for any values assigned to the variable floor that are larger than 13. So if floor is 14 or 20, in this example, actual floor would become floor minus 1. So in this example, if the floor was 14, the actual floor would be 13. If it was 20, then it would be floor 19. The else is really saying for any values that are less than or equal to 13, we will have a catch. And that means that for all that range of values, everything that the if is not looking at, we will assign the actual floor to whatever the variable floor is. So if it is 13, then the actual floor is 13. If it is 5, the floor is 5. So let's jump into some code here in a second after we talk about the difference between an if and an if-else logic. If we were to do an if with an else, like we saw in the previous example, notice that we can assign something if the value is false. So if floor greater than 13 evaluates to false, we can do a second operation where actual floor equals floor. Now, if floor greater than 13 is an if statement that is by itself, notice that we don't have anything if it evaluates to false. Let's jump into some code and talk about how this works. So you can see here in the code that I have created a variable called floor. We will then ask the user of the elevator to input floor. We will gather it here, and then we will also have an actual floor variable to compensate for the difference in the terminology on the elevator panel. So just like before, if the floor is larger than 13, we will assign the actual floor to be floor minus 1. So if it is 14, then actual floor should be set to 14 minus 1, which would be 13. The else is here to catch all the other values. So anything less than or equal to 13, the opposite of the if logic, will be assigned directly. So whatever floor contains is what actual floor becomes. So if we're on floor 8, the actual floor is 8. If we are on floor 13, the actual floor is 13. So let's run the code and show how this works. So say I wanted to go to floor 20, which would be larger than 13. You can see here that the elevator will travel to the actual floor of 19 because we go into the if statement, we know that floor is larger than 13, and we reduce actual floor to be floor minus 1. And likewise, say we wanted to go to the floor 5, which would be less than 13. we can see here that we go directly to that floor. Now, what's really interesting is what happens when we actually go to floors 13 and 14. If we went to floor 13, the actual elevator floor would be 13. And likewise, if we went to floor 14, we would be going into our if statement, and so we would actually be going to floor 13 as a result. That's all for if and else logic for now. Thanks, and happy coding.